Howdy. Welcome back to MCubed. We got Jamie. It's Cinema Scoop. It's Wednesday. Y'all know what the deal is. We're going in like we usually do about movies and such, TV shows and such. How are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, we're going all in, baby. I finished work. Oh, I loved Beekeeper.
I did too.
It's full out Jason Statham movie. It says what it says on the tin. It does exactly what you expect. Good fun.
I've got an out of theater reaction coming out for it later that I filmed a couple of days ago that I've been meaning to put out. So keep your eyes out for that, y'all. Got a few shorts coming today, but I not only was it a good Jason Statham movie because it was the best Jason Statham movie of the year, which there was a few of them, and none of them were really all that good, which sucks because I love me some Jason Statham. But it was the first freaking David Ayer movie I've seen in years that I actually had a good time with and wasn't like, oh God, here we go again. I think since Suicide Squad, that's the first David Ayer movie I've truly walked out of and thoroughly enjoyed, I think. Which is good. Very good.
And it's like, it didn't really make sense in a few places, but these action movies are supposed to.
You know. That's what a sequel's for, right?
Yeah. And apparently, all the bad guys are about as good at shooting as Jedis. As stormtroopers, and they're just getting missing. But I mean, even when the bullet is flat against his head, they still missed. But I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna put this like, comment, subscribe up real quick, just because it's probably a good thing to do, and it's a good thing to remind you. But while this is going on, we're gonna tell you what's going on for today. We've got this Byron Allen topic. This is insane. This is going to be a good one. That's going to be our first topic, probably our main topic. $30 billion for Paramount. They need it. They need it. But we're also going to talk Christopher Nolan saying indie films, his films are like big indie films, and that he feels a responsibility to make films the way that he makes them, which I think is pretty cool. We might talk about Issa Rae deciding to go the indie way as well. And we also have a little bit of Percy Jackson. And then to end it off, I think we're going to talk a little Henry Cavill and what his most franchisable upcoming project is, which will be fun. I think that'll be a good few topics. Well, I watched Highlander all the way through for the first time the other day because I've seen bits of it throughout life, but all the way through for the first time the other day. I understand why people love it. I do, but it ain't that.
Can you see though why that is a movie that is desperately needs a remake?
Yes, desperately, desperate.
If done well, oh my God, that film could be good.
And Stahelski's the guy to do it too. If he can do what Swordplay did for that, or if he can do what Gun Fu did for John Wick, but with Swordplay for Highlander, please, because then he could do Star Wars and do both. Like, come on, I mean, please, come on. But now that we have got everything that we were talking about,
we're talking about this Paramount deal.
What's the big thing?
The Paramount
deal. Byron Allen, man.
Yeah.
Just to preface this, have you heard of Byron Allen before today?
God, no.
Really? Okay.
YouTuber. He's a comedian that never made it over here. I mean, but I know basically he's a comedian that's become a media mogul. I know Eddie Murphy. Is a big friend of his and stuff. But other than that, I know nothing about him.
Yeah, comedian since 1975, and besides that, he's just been freaking stacking as many media companies as possible. Which, go for it if you can. And honestly, I like the idea of this in the sense of there will be a new big fish in Hollywood. It's like an old fish combining with a new fish, and it's kind of meeting in the middle somewhere. I like that there will be, instead of 5 or 6, kind of 4, 5, 6 big head honchos in Hollywood now, there might be 7. Or if he has some big company backing him that we don't know about, there might be 8. Who knows, But we might just go through this article just a little bit here. The Hollywood Reporter, I think, is... Oh, wait a second. That is not the article.
Adverts.
That is not the article.
There's a man with a flat stomach there.
There was. I'm trying to do that.
You were looking at.
He owns the Weather Channel. He does own the Weather Channel. That's probably his like moneymaker right now, honestly.
And a bunch of like local networks and things he owns, apparently.
He owns a lot of those. Okay, well, if that article is not going to pull up the way that we wanted it to, essentially what it states, though, is he has offered $14 billion to Paramount Global, not just Paramount Plus or Paramount US, domestic, whatever. It's Paramount Global, so the international rights to it.
Sale, basically. Yeah.
$14 billion after Warner Brothers Discovery offered $8 billion just a couple months ago, I believe, maybe a month ago, maybe 2 by now. That's $6 billion more.
Because whoever it is, has to buy the Redstone.
The family,
share, basically, they own about 77%.
Yeah, I think it's 77 is what the article said. Yeah,
but they are liable for almost the entire debt. Because they own the A shares, I think they're called, but the main shares. So they've got different levels of shares, basically, and they've got voting right shares. So they own the company virtually. So they are actually, when you own shares in a company like that, you're liable to a percentage of the debt. So I think they're liable to about 13 billion of the debt personally.
The vast majority.
Yeah. Well, Redstone would quite like to get rid of that noose around their neck. It seems to be that the woman that owns Redstone, whose name has gone out my head,
Redstone,
Mrs. Redstone. Sounds like she should be in the Flintstones.
Honestly, I was like, is there a blue stone and a green stone?
There might be. If you have an amber stone and a green stone, then they could be the traffic light stones, and they could have a gang, like just being traffic lights. But it seems to be this. It's simple as she just wants to retire, and that seems to be as much as that. Really, she's sort of like winding up a lot of her business interests.
Can you blame them? They're a giant media conglomerate family that has plenty of money to do with what they feel like. So do their next probably 2, 3, 4, 5 generations. And especially if they sell this out and get all their debt taken care of.
Yeah.
Hell, it's not like they're really all that involved now. I understand the want to probably stay associated to some degree because they were a big founding group of Paramount or one of the founding families of Paramount, but hey, if the company's selling, the company's selling.
Yeah.
Go out the best way you can.
Initially, with the Warner Brothers deal, Warner Brothers apparently didn't want NBC. But Redstone didn't apparently really want to sell NBC. So the idea was that it would be Paramount that was sold. So it'd be split up again. So like the old Viacom split that they did a few years ago. But it's moved on since then now because it's a weird sale because it's not like the company isn't for sale, really. It's not Paramount Global that want to sell.
No.
It's the main shareholder. And the main shareholder can sell to anyone. And apparently the FTC don't have the same authority because it's not a fully cash sale.
Well, also there's very, very little chance of any monopolizing anything trying to be thrown at him because the guy's just not. He might be a billionaire and he might have a lot of assets under his belt, but he doesn't have enough to make it a monopolizing transaction.
But the Warner Brothers, there is a monopolizing issue.
And they offered $6 billion less, which if just my thought process there is he offers that $6 billion more. He already offered, I'll pay all the shareholders what their shares are worth. And then the shareholders that don't have their names out there that are kind of the big head honchos, like a share and a half, or I think he offered them $25 or $26 based on.
It's basically 50% more than the company's actually worth.
And it's skyrocketed their stock. I think it went from $16 to $21 today, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around that.
Paramount stock has been steadily boom, boom, boom. It only went back to where it was about 8 months ago.
My thought process though is I think that's a tactic from him to raise the price out of Warner Brothers asking reach again.
Yeah. Well, I think Warner Brothers have kind of done what Apple did when they tried to buy MGM. They went in with an offer that was actually reasonable. And actually basically what the company's worth. But when they did that, they were the only ones in the game. But because of the way this sale is happening, all of these other companies can all of a sudden go, well, we can actually do this and nobody can stop us. All we have to actually do is like put the most money in. Redstone can sell to whoever the hell they like.
Yeah.
There's no board that we've got to convince or anything. We can just do it. It was a similar sort of thing with MGM in a way, but there was 2 or 3 different companies involved, so the board still had to sort of like gratify the agreement. So it was still complicated. So Amazon just went in with like 8.5 billion, and they just went, yeah, okay. Amazon, I think Apple offered 3 or 4. It
Which
might
for a
not even
dying company is reasonable, but hey, if you're offered 8, you're going to take it.
It was a reasonable amount for the actual company, a company that owned it. You were just buying their IP. They didn't own anything else. Even their headquarters they rent. Obviously with MGM and Stargate stuff, I know the MGM company inside and out now. But, well, it doesn't exist really anymore. But Paramount is different. Paramount owns vast real estate. And I know one of the things,
big real estate too, in some really big spots, like high foot traffic spots, especially out here in LA.
Yeah. Well, I think they've got the second largest after Warner Brothers studio space in Southern California.
I believe so. It's either them or Raleigh Studios, and Raleigh is what Netflix bought to become Netflix Studios.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah, but it's pretty close. But I mean, if you go for the history, you know, you're buying one of the big 5 studios, even though it hasn't performed quite in that area for a few years.
It's still one of the only ones that are 100 years old, and it is faceted in that old guard. So it is nice to see the new guard come in and try to bring the old guard out of its dying ways. Is that a proper way of saying that without being disrespectful?
Well, yeah, let's try. Somebody's going to come with some new ideas. Yeah. Focus on what works and try to eliminate what hasn't been working. Honestly. But the thing with this deal, though, is the only thing that might be an issue. The FTC will get involved, depending on who is financing him. Now, there's an issue with Skydance, their deal, and apparently, at least some of the finance was coming from Saudi Arabia. That might not go down very well with the FTC.
For a few reasons.
Well, yeah, because it would be state money. That's the issue as well. If it was private investor from Saudi Arabia, they wouldn't have a problem.
That's all good.
Yeah, but it being a state, it's basically one of the members of the royal family and their Saudi Arabia investment fund sort of thing. If that is the case, then they might have a problem with that. We don't know who's investing this guy, but somebody's got to be backing him because he's basically come up with a $30 billion deal. He hasn't got $30 billion.
You know, I haven't Googled his net worth. I am now. His net worth is only $800 million. Only $800 million. But
yeah, he's a pauper. Come on.
Oh no.
So I'm amazed he can even get a pair of shoes or whatever. How did they even get a computer to send the email for the to offer the money? But yeah, so he's got to have backers.
Oh yeah, because he offered $10 million to Disney and Bob Iger last year for ABC Network and National Geographic, and he also was part of the group of people that were, or not the group of people. He was one of the few groups of people offering to buy BET, I think, for $3.5 billion. Yeah, so he's trying to just scoop up some stuff right now.
So he's being backed from somewhere, and I think the FTC are going to want to know where. And I'm telling you what, if this is China money or something, they will not be happy. Paramount it's not just a name, it's a major global thing. They've got news, they're going to be interested in news networks and things as well. It will not be popular if this is certain foreign money.
Well, because if it is Chinese money, it's probably going to be Chinese state money too. So it'd either be state money from them or state money from Saudi Arabia, which either one would not be great. That makes the new fish a little.
Yeah, it would not be. But we don't know that. We're speculating. We don't know where he's got this money from, but he's got it from somewhere, and the FTC are going to want to know where. But I don't think, other than that, they won't be interested because, like you said, there's no competition there really. And they're like, oh, it's the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel are buying Paramount. Paramount have got a Weather Channel. I don't know. So, you know,
That would be interesting. Do you
there is
think
no
just?
competition on it.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can take this, and I mean, we have time to tangent. We have time to talk about it. Do you think this is a good thing if it were to go through? If everything goes through, if the FTC approves it, and there's not some state funded money coming from some place, do you think this would be a good thing for Paramount Plus? Do you think they kind of have an idea? Because they're just not offering this money with no plan. Like they have to have a game plan on what they would do with the company and all that kind of stuff. Do you think they have some reasonable, maybe thought process? Of course, speculation again, but do you think Paramount Plus could maybe go the way of Apple Plus and do really well? Maybe it starts trying to say, okay, well, we have more quality than we have quantity, so let's shoot for Emmys like Apple's doing. Let's try to make as many Emmy-nominated things as possible. If we're going to do an original film like Coda, let's get that guy up on the Oscar stage. You know, let's try to change the tune around the company a bit. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think Amazon have shown that actually making movies and becoming a studio is harder than you think. I'm more interested by like the Skydance deal potentially because I think Skydance been around about 10 years. Is it 12 years? Not long.
Maybe a little longer, but not much.
They've come on to become a major player. You know, they started off as a minor studio. They're now doing some serious movies, some serious TV projects over the years as well. They know how to make entertainment. So that would make me more comfortable about thinking about like the owners coming in and sort of understanding media. This guy, he's a businessman. He's a very good businessman. Eddie Murphy talked about how he's a chess player and he would bore people. He's like the Iceman from Paramount, from Top Gun. He would just bore you until you make a mistake, sort of thing. That's how Eddie Murphy talked about him. I just wonder, does he know? Does he have any clue how to run a studio differently?
That's
the down button.
Just comment or something, even if you don't like us. Give us something. Just make that algorithm go happy.
I keep forgetting to put the comments on when I'm on live stream with you. It stays on private chat unless I change it. Anyway, hi everybody.
Hello.
But I think it makes more sense. I'd be more confident because he's going to have to. Right, if I put this to like the Manchester United deal, right, and this is the other love in my life, Manchester United.
Of course.
We've just had a new owner come in. This company called Ineos, but this company knows football. He already owns another football club. He's bringing in people that know football, right? So all of a sudden, United, there's a bit of an excitement around United that we're getting the right people in charge finally. It's a similar thing with this deal, with this basically stand-up comedian who is a businessman. He doesn't know how to run Paramount, and Paramount is a monster. You know, it's a monster of a company. He's going to have to then bring in the right people that know how to run a studio. And not the people that are there now, because
that's what I was about to say. Because he could keep some of the people there, or he could do whatever, and we don't really know. But it would just from the $14 billion extra, or $15.6 billion extra in debt, excuse me, that he's having to buy out. Those aren't the people that you want running that company. Still, I wouldn't think. You know,
no. But I mean, I'm just being from a management point of view. You got it, yeah. See that Warner Brothers, part of their deal. I know a bit about the Warner Brothers deal because I know somebody that is not involved but has seen it. And the Warner Brothers deal, what they were offering, they were then offering, because that was then they're going to put them up to $30 billion in debt, Warner Brothers, which is a chunk of change, because they already owe $15 billion. They were going to have to take on Paramount's $15 billion. So it's a chunk of change. Warner Brothers Warner Brothers owe more than that. Sorry, they already owe $50 billion.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's like 45 or 50.
Their debt will go up to roughly $60 billion. So they're going to have, but their plan was basically to sell off Paramount Plus, sell off Max to Netflix, Netflix would have this super subscription basically, where you'd have Netflix for like $10, and then you can have Netflix Max for a couple of dollars more, and
That's
then
right.
Paramount, and it'd be like these add-ons, and they would have this super conglomerate of deal. And we've already sort of seen a bit of that deal because, like Netflix has been buying loads of HBO and Warner Brothers products.
Loads. And if they're not buying them, they're at least making their stuff for them or alongside them, one or the other.
So they're already, having that partnership. I think if this was down to Paramount Global, they would sell to Warner. They would merge with Warner Brothers if it was down to them. But it's not. Basically, it's down to Red now. So, which should be like in a Paramount Plus TV show, shouldn't it? It should be a spin-off from a certain Paramount Plus TV show. Actually thinking about it, Kevin Costner could star in it, or somebody else. So then you'd have Yellowstone and Redstone. They've come into sort of like challenge.
That's where my Bluestone and Greenstone came from. We got to get all the stones.
Yeah, all the stones.
And then make it to the final sequel.
Put it in a big gauntlet thing and try and take over the world. Click your fingers and everyone disappears. But so yeah, I think they would prefer to do that, if I'm honest. And I think that Netflix idea works. And the guy I was talking to basically said, the thinking is, look, Paramount Plus has failed, basically. Yeah. It's failed. Max streaming is failing. It's not doing great. They spent way too much money and they're struggling. They look at Netflix and go, look, Netflix know how to do this. Why don't we let Netflix do it and we'll just make money with no real risk? And I think that's not the stupidest idea in the world, if I'm honest.
No, it's not.
So we just have to see what they then do.
But is it the mindset of Byron Allen going into it? Because that would make total sense for WBD, but Warner Brothers Discovery. But
yeah,
it depends who's backing them, of course.
But also, Allen doesn't have the relationships to do that. Warner Brothers have the relationship with Netflix and Paramount already to do that.
So you just said something that just piqued my interest a little bit in the sense of, Yellowstone, #1 show in the world, doing bigger numbers than Game of Thrones did a lot of the times, which is wild. It's finishing its final season.
I was going to say as well, not just that, the spin-offs have done brilliantly as well.
The spin-offs have done brilliantly, and the spin-offs go straight to Paramount Plus. All the spin-offs are directly Paramount Plus.
How many times have we seen a show do that, though, where the spin-offs are just as good as the original? It never happens.
It's not better. 1883, I think, is my favorite Yellowstone or anything out of Sheridan, honestly.
Yeah.
But if Yellowstone's ending its cable run, which means it might not have its contractual obligation to be on Peacock, does that mean Paramount Plus, maybe in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, gets all of Yellowstone from Peacock back onto Paramount plus any of the new shows, the Matthew McConaughey 2024, the new spinoff, that's going to be the continuation of Yellowstone, supposedly at least. If it's not beholden to cable, not beholden to another network like Universal's Peacock or NBC, whatever it airs on, is that one of Byron's plays here, maybe? Because it's by far the biggest thing. I mean, House of the Dragon
is worth $1 billion on its own. Yellowstone is worth serious money. And then you throw in something like Star Trek as well, it's probably worth another $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. Which, real quick, Laura said, I wonder if Seth MacFarlane has the cash to buy Star Trek IP. Not anywhere close. I'd be cool if he did, but not anywhere close.
It would be a massively complicated thing anyway. You couldn't just buy the IP, especially when you then throw in Secret Hideout, which is where this plan for them to create Star Trek Studios is reliant on it going to Warner Brothers.
That's true, too.
This is part of the Warner Brothers plan. God knows what's going to happen if somebody else comes in.
I'd be interested. Obviously, I mean, I've done as much research as I can about Byron Allen. Not as much research. I've been just frantically trying to do as much as I can since this morning, last night. But
because nobody saw this coming.
No, not at all. Which, hey, that's great. Perfect, like, fast news for us for today. But also, I don't know what this guy likes. I haven't had time to go through his Twitter and be like, okay, well, his favorite show is Star Trek. There's a reason behind it. Because, I mean, Jeff Bezos was like, I'm going to get...
He's an opportunist.
Well, of course, but I mean, sometimes people love a little something. Like Bezos, his big thing was, I love The Expanse. I love The Expanse.
Mm.
Oh, they're gonna cancel that show. You're gonna put it on my network now. We're gonna get it. Is there something that is Byron a huge fan of Yellowstone? Is he a huge fan of Star Trek? Is he both? Is there something else on there that they have that he's like, well, this is something that I could do that nobody else is doing right now? I don't know.
Looking at the history of his business deals and things, I think he wants to be a media mogul sort of thing, and he is.
Yeah.
And this opportunity is rare. How often does an active, MGM, when it was sold for 8.5 billion, you could argue in a lot of ways it was barely an active studio. It was a name. Yeah. It had to do everything in cooperation with somebody else. It didn't own any studio space. It didn't own anything. It had MGM Plus, whatever, Epics, which was pretty much the smallest of all the streaming services. It was a name, basically. Hold on, and don't get me wrong, the new owners since 2015 sort of thing had done really well with it. Particularly with reality TV and all that sort of thing. They've done some really good work. They made the company profitable again. Paramount is actually an active studio. It owns studio space. It owns a one of the big streaming services. It owns some of the biggest IP on the planet. It's not done great in some areas, and it's released some films that have not been great. And it's but it has everything in place to become the biggest studio if it was run right.
Well, I mean, another thing that was announced within the last week and a half that might have, I don't know if this individual project would have anything to do with Byron Allen jumping on this right now, but Top Gun 3 was announced, and that's the biggest movie outside of Avatar, which is the third highest grossing film ever. And Top Gun's in the top, I think, still 15, maybe even a little more than that.
I don't think that's it. I think as soon as Redstone made this clear that this was going to happen, I imagine Byron Allen was working on this deal. But putting together $30 billion takes time. Takes a bit of time. So I don't think a company like Paramount comes up for sale like this once in a blue moon. And
he's been preparing for it.
And how much did Disney spend on Fox?
22 billion, if I remember correctly.
And that was nearly 10 years ago now.
Yeah, because it was 13 or 14 billion, and they got forced their hand, and then they were like, "We're spending 22," and they were like, "All right, we'll do it." I think.
Yeah, but even that deal was complicated. It took 18 months to get through FTC and all this sort of thing, and it was massively expensive. This deal, in lots of other ways, is attractive to somebody like Byron Allen because it's simple. It's just here's the money, and it's just a negotiation done. And what it does with the future of all of these big franchises and the business as a whole.
I'm thinking future of film too.
Yeah, because it depends on his investors. These investors could be going in. Paramount own billions of dollars worth of real estate. What if one of his investors is somebody that builds houses? They go, we're going to flatten the studio space and we will make half our money back.
If they do that down in Hollywood, they're going to be starting some riots.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It's not just in Hollywood. They own studio space
all over.
So, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, again, that's just an if, but maybe. But again, unless we know more about the actual deal, it's hard to speculate what the interest is. But somebody is forking up $30 billion to buy Paramount. They're going to want a return on it.
Oh.
And that's either through success or by selling assets.
Probably both, honestly. I mean, at the end of the day, that'd just be the most reasonable thing to do. Don't forget that Fox was forced to sell Sky to Comcast as part of that deal. Yeah, because then it would have been the global monopoly aspect of things. But
yeah. FTC did force a few things on them. The other thing to think about with this Byron deal, is gone out of my head. I had such a good comment, and then Peter threw me.
Well, this might kind of transition us into the next 1.5, 2 topics. But say it if it pops up in your brain. Of course, you know my IDD self. It happens about 3 times a video. But if so, he understands. I guess he's probably. I don't know if he watches YouTube or anything like that, but he's reading articles. He understands the business. He understands the film industry. He's keeping an eye out on that. So he knows blockbusters aren't doing what they did. I mean, the majority of them are still making their money back. Probably not as much as they would like to be, but they're still making their money back. Elemental, all these little things like that. But do you think he understands that and is probably going to go take an A24 approach or a Blumhouse approach where they spend $7, $10, $12 million in a film and they get tenfold their money back kind of deal? He might be able to change the entire business model of not just Paramount and Paramount Plus and Paramount Global, but the film industry as a whole. Because I mean, what he does after this is going to bleed. Like it's going to bleed in. Old and new guard all coming in. I hope China's done.
I saw Peter apologizing for distracting me. It's really not your fault, Peter, that my brain doesn't work anymore. Information just goes out of my brain. But I appreciate the apology. Really not your fault. Yeah,
but yeah, I just feel like
hard. It's hard to focus sometimes.
It is, especially when you have a cool X-wing right there. I keep looking at the X-wing, but
if he's got any sense that but that I don't think he'll be making decisions like that. I think it'll be the people he then brings in. This is my point about like sort of the Man United simile. You need to bring the right people in to run Paramount because it's a bitch of a company to run.
Mm-hmm.
It's massive, and your success is so like immediate. If you release 2 or 3 films that smash it, you can get a real good momentum, and you can think, and you've got to get somebody as well that's got a grip of like the change in cinema and the change in not just media as a whole. You've got to have somebody that really, if you bring in somebody that ran Fox 20 years ago and thinks it's the same, they're going to fail. Because even 10 years ago, the companies that aren't keeping up with the change in the media, because it is so rapid.
Media tech.
Yeah, but they're losing crap loads of money. And, Disney have had, I know anybody I think we discussed this last week, didn't we, say that Disney are really not doing as badly as a lot of people think. Remember that Beauty and the Beast was a massive hit for them. I don't understand why people love the live action Disney movies, but they do. And I've actually watched Beauty and the Beast over Christmas. It's actually quite good. The Aladdin wasn't. Aladdin was terrible.
Yeah, I love me some Guy Ritchie, but still.
Yeah, and I can't believe they're making a live action Moana. I don't know how that. And they've got The Rock to do it as well, which is just insane.
That's why I almost guarantee you that was just Dwayne Johnson saying, "Hey, I need some good press. Can we do this?" Yeah.
I want to sing. So he agreed to do it. That's why they're doing it. But I watched Moana though and I loved it. I was watching it with my grandson. My grandson fell asleep, and I watched the end of the film.
Same thing. I watched it over Christmas for the very first time with my little niece, and I was just glued to the TV. I love it.
It was great. But yeah. So if you need somebody that's going to come in and 100% understand that the streaming platform for a start it's really, really important, but they've got to spend sensibly, and they've got to make sure that the business side of it is sorted, like the actual computer side of it, sort of thing, because that's where the massive expenses. That's where Disney has completely shot themselves in the foot. They tied themselves into this deal, and it's costing them billions. Netflix switched over to Amazon's WS, what is it, worldwide service, something, whatever it's called, and that's one of the main reasons why Netflix are now profitable for pretty much the first time in their history. We need to. They desperately need a team and a CEO in there that understands. Disney are trying to AWS. Thank you, Mark. That Amazon will serve a server or something, isn't it?
There we go. There we go.
Amazon Web Services, thank you. Web. And I was thinking world, and I was like, that's not right.
It sounded right.
Like the world service, that like the BBC. Welcome to the BBC World Service. You probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But anyway, but they need a team in there that is going to understand where we're at now, but also have an idea where we're going in 5 years. The streaming services over the last 3 years or so have thought, we need to catch Netflix, so let's just spend like crazy. Amazon knew that was not the way to do it.
Nope.
Netflix knew it was not the way to do it. But Disney and Paramount and a few others didn't. HBO Max 5 years ago knew, and then they for some reason forgot.
Change of management, and then another change of management, and then another change of management.
So it's just insane. But if Paramount though, because they're almost like, they're not the sleeping giant or anything like, because they're a giant, but they're really well placed. That if the right people, if the right people get involved and they make the right content and they get the right IP, they use their IP well.
Yeah,
they could blast this. They could do everything that Amazon wants to do, and they could do it a damn sight quicker. Because everything's in place. It's all there, which is why there's going to be desperately people going to get me. If Apple don't put a bid in, I'll be shocked.
I mean, they got plenty of cash too,
Well, the thing is as well, they can rock up and go, there's no investors, there's no anything, and we can give you the money now. They actually are cash rich. All these other deals are going to be dependent on borrowing, all this sort of thing. Even the Warner Brothers deal, they do not have that money.
That's true. The creativity over money is the most important. But the good thing about Apple is they have both. They tend to hire both. I mean, not hire both. They have the cash, but already down pat. They hire creative people.
I was going to say, they have people involved, though, as well, that seem to understand what they're trying to do. And that's really important in any business, is to understand what you're trying to do. And I think it's one of the big things. We're not going to go on about Stargate again, but it's one of the big things with Amazon at the moment that I don't think they quite know what they're trying to do. They're trying to become a big studio from like the 1950s. They're trying to become Disney or Paramount.
Yeah, and they're trying to take Fox's kind of role in the void or whatever.
Yeah, fill in the void, and they're not stuck at edge, and it's not. The problem is, I think they are a bit slow in keeping up with the change. They do seem to be figuring it out, but they figured it out like 6 months after Disney did. Oh, yeah, Harris, you sweet out.
Sometimes, if I can help technologically, I will. I just don't usually know how to help technologically.
I'm going to say, if I could help technologically, I would, but I have no freaking clue. That's why we've got Matt.
so yeah, that's the truth. I literally text Matt once a week to be like, well, how do I do this? Halfway across the world, different time zone by like 12 hours, but I was able to help. Not 12 hours, just like 8 or 9, but still. Some films just need to be seen on the theater screen. Yes, Peter is an expert. Real quick, just for it's talking about what you're talking about. It's talking about the next couple topics that we have, but also Laura just said no one wants to go to the theater after spending money buying home entertainment systems during COVID. Top Gun 2, Avatar 2. Excuse me there.
Indiana Jones.
I still make money. Cinema is dying. Like I just said. Like I said in the Patreon post the other day, AMC has made its biggest money in the past 6 or 7 years last year.
After
Cineworld.
After nearly going under.
Well, no, Cineworld almost went
cinemas. No, AMC closed a bunch of cinemas during COVID. They were. I mean, a lot of these cinemas have the ones that have done well are the ones that did sort of like close the less profitable ones. Odeon have just done really well, but one of the things they did, they invested in the Odeon Lux sort of line, and they put all these big comfy seats in, which is great. Because if I go watch a kids film with my grandkids or whatever, I can go to sleep. It's brilliant. And they do things like what we were always banging on about. For the love of God, if you like going to the cinema, get the card and go. I pay £15 a month. As long as I go once a month, that pays for it.
Oh yeah.
And then some months a couple of times a month. You know, so it's worth doing.
They were arrested by the GameStop meme.
Yeah.
But that was 3 years ago. That was 3 years ago. Last year, they have made more money than they have in the past 7 years. That's a lot. That's not. I mean, that's good for the film industry one way or another. And cinema is dying is just it's not true.
No,
it simply isn't.
Well, cinema needs to do what it did. I think I talked about this in a video. I talked about it in the video.
There's a shift.
The cinema needs to change. It does need to adapt. It nearly died when the video shop became a thing. Blockbuster nearly killed it.
Oh yeah.
But it had adapted and it changed, and then we had and also people got bored and they went back to the cinema. For a bit, the video shop, the video night became what people like doing, but then it was like, well, I fancy going to cinema. And then we got a golden age of cinema, really.
Well, I was about to say, every single top 15 or 20 grossing film of all time happened after film almost died as a medium because of Blockbuster and things like that. There's a shift, and that shift, Avatar 2 and Top Gun alone, those two films just alone, not talking about Elemental not doing well when it came out and then grossing $300 to $400 million over the next couple months, and that happening with a few other different films. There's a shift happening. There needs to be change. That change is being implemented. Maybe people like Byron Allen are going to be the people that do that, and we will see as that happens. Hopefully, companies like Apple are companies that will do that. That focus on quality and quantity.
Yeah, maybe. I think cinemas are a bit like, I can have another simile. I'm all over it tonight. It's a bit like farming. They're a bit specialized and they need to diversify. All right. It's any business really. If you're specialized, you need to diversify in this modern age. How many companies do we know were massive name? Kodak, one of the biggest businesses on the planet. They now don't exist because digital technology came along. Yeah. Exactly. All right.
What are you doing over there?
That was me filmed.
I know I had to. I'm sorry. I'm bad.
I knew exactly what I was doing, baby. But yeah. So they need to diversify, and I'm just looking at cinemas by me, and I've got a 10-screen cinema multiplex by me, and this thing, and I'm looking at it going, why on earth isn't one of these cinema screens got a bar built in, with like somebody serving? Take out a load of the chairs and do things like show films like Grease.
Well, not even that. Well, that'd actually be good. Do a little like dancing thing or something.
Make it like party nights, Grease party night.
I mean, they're already starting to do that. Just not take the chairs out, but they're doing that with Taylor Swift, Beyonce. They're putting their concerts in movie theaters now.
I think they need to get to the next level.
Go to a concert. Also. They just put the NFC and AFC championships in Regal theaters and stuff like that, I believe. Maybe it was AMC, not Regal, one of the two. But putting football, soccer, hockey, whatever the hell sports going on at the time in a movie theater, put the Olympics in the movie theaters. Get a group of people. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to be watching this on my couch at home. There's a movie theater half a block away, 2 blocks away, 5 minutes down the street, whatever it may be.
I've just realized
I'm not doing anything.
My computer is about to die, and I don't know where actually I might have to unplug the sound mic. Oh, that's my camera.
Oh my God, it's Teal'c.
That was my camera.
You really want Hooters? It wouldn't be Hooters unless you hire the right people to make it Hooters, but I don't know if that's necessary for a movie theater. Choose your adventure movies where audience votes. You know what? The whole Bandersnatch aspect of things that Netflix did try a couple years ago would be an interesting shift to see.
My back.
Utilize a little bit more. Yeah, you're right there. Maybe a little less of the light. I don't know.
If my charge. Does that charge?
That sounded something good. That's good noise.
I think my wife took my laptop downstairs, and I think she might have took the power cable with her.
She said, "You're only streaming for an hour and 15 minutes. I know how much battery's left."
Yeah. Yeah, I think she has done. But anyway, we can. That's not charging.
Oh. But sure, I do like the idea of choose your own adventure movies where the audience votes. You know, have someone go in there, not someone, have a group of people go in there and kind of do almost like when you're on a Disney ride or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, this part of the group does this and this part of the group does this, kind of that. But like, all right, left side vote, right side vote, whatever the hell you do. And then you're like, all right, this is what we're doing. We're going to go take a left at the fork in the road now in this little choose your adventure movie, whatever it may be. That's a fun thing to do. And to make it interactive with groups. That would be, I mean, just I didn't even think about it until we're starting to talk about it, but that would be a decent kind of bridging of the gap before VR just comes into such a huge play to things. Because people are going to be interactive in their kind of movies and stuff like that at that point. So that might help us bridge that gap at some point.
But cinema's got to be a night out. They've got to have, there will always be certain films that you want to watch with a group of people. Right, it's like going to watch a comedian. It's better in this studio. It's better in an audience. You laugh harder. It's funnier. It has more impact. Laura made the point there. What happens when everyone's got 100-inch OLED screens? If cinemas have got the sense, people will still want to go to the cinema. But it's got to be an experience. It can't just be go to watch the movie. They've got to do things like the popcorn has got to be better. You've got to be able to get a drink. You know, one of the things they should do, and I'm serious with this, is, well, for one thing, bringing back an intermission wouldn't be a bad idea for some films.
certain things, for sure.
Yeah, a 90-minute movie, maybe not, but like, you know, you want to talk about Chris Nolan in a bit. When a Chris Nolan film comes out, for God's sake, have an intermission.
As much as I love Oppenheimer, I could have used an intermission.
But in my cinema, anyway, what they've done is it's an old school one. So they've got the big foyer, and then you go through a door, and then it goes off either side, and you go into the cinemas. Oh, yeah. What they need bars and toilets right at the. So you walk out the back of the cinema, and you can get a drink straight away, and you can go to the loo, and then go back and sit down. You know, it's. But I really think they need to do these things, like they need to have like party nights and things where people can go and you can actually go have a hen night, you know, and they've got a bar and you can have a bit of a dance and things. And that's just one option. The football option you mentioned is a brilliant idea. We go to the pub to watch the football. It would be awesome at the cinema.
There's a bar at the frickin' movie theaters 90% of the time nowadays, and you have 10 times the screen. And if you get a little drunk and just want to take a nap, you have a nice comfy chair to take a nap in.
If they had, again, they'd have to change the seating for a football match. And if you actually had a bar in the back of the cinema, so you didn't actually have to leave the cinema to go get a drink. Basically, what I'm trying to say is make it a bar with an enormous freaking cinema screen. Yeah. They've already got all of the rights. But what I'm trying to say is they need to have different reasons to get people in the door. Well, but they've got the facility. They've got like the bare bones of it already. They've already got the liquor license. They've already got things. There's a million things they could do. At
that point, you don't need to even kind of organize a good chunk of your theaters at all. All you need to do is there's usually one game going on at a time, and it's going to last 2 hours, and the next game comes on. There you go. You only need one theater, maybe two changed. If you want two different games or two different sports going on, there you go. You need two different theaters out of your 10, or your 12, 15.
My hen night idea isn't based as going, because I'm being laughed at, but it's my hen night idea is, though, it is right, but it would be like say, you show Grease, everyone's dressed up, dancing, but you'd have to change you couldn't do it in a cinema as they are now. Like, say, you'd have to take all the seats out, you'd have to like maybe put a dance floor, and so there'd have to be a bar built into the thing so you can drink and that thing. And then, but I could see that a bunch of, you know, girls all dressed up and dancing about and I'd do the same. I'd have a stag night and playing Predator. I'd have Predator on, and we'd all have guns, shooting each other with laser guns, and I'd have a stick to hit my mate with, and just get pissed off watching Predator. It'd probably fail because people probably wouldn't do it, but I'd do it. But the football, I think, would be they'd have to advertise it like crazy for it to work. But
yeah, but
yeah,
if
they've just mentioned there about throwing beers at the screen. That would happen. 100% that would happen.
But if you buy a ticket, you could have something in that ticket where if you buy the ticket, you're technically signing like, I'm going to follow these rules kind of thing. Like when you buy a ticket, you're saying, I'm not going to go yell fire in a movie theater, like it's part of like something that's roped in there,
But it would be, you'd have one of the screens that would be for that. It's like when the bar at the big projector screens, isn't it? And they get them in the bar. Mm-hmm. All I'm saying is, whereas bars have tried to become cinemas, why don't the cinemas try to become more a bit like a bar? To try and get people in.
They already do. Not much cinema. Well, I mean, that's specifically for this. That's to help the theaters grow and continue to go. If they're able to do something like that, that means more cinema is able to continue coming out. That means they're able to support smaller people, smaller filmmakers, smaller studios, being able to put these other things out. If they're able to support themselves, which in turn, if they're able to do this kind of stuff, then Jay is missing his rave days. Vogan again. But I think, you mentioned it right at the beginning, was one of the things that they need to do as a theater, any theater companies do as a theater company, is get better food, because that's where they make their money. And I understand people just getting cheap, crappy candy and cheapest way of making popcorn and all that kind of stuff. It makes sense. You're not making a whole bunch of money and you want to maximize profits. But if you're able to get more profits off of this aspect of things, if you're able to get profits from football, different sports, movies made or music turned into movies kind of deal, whole albums turned into a movie, that is another great way to make some extra cash, and maybe it allows them to start making better food.
It's a good example as well. There's I pretty much said suddenly it's a $200 a night, but if they made it into a night out, $200 is obviously a bit much, but a night out, people would pay more money. This is a bit like bingo. That by us, we've got this Mecca bingo thing. But what they do is they've turned it into every night's like a freaking hen night. They go, you play bingo, and then they play music, and everyone gets drunk. And it's, people go to the bingo night. It's ridiculous. And all these like women getting absolutely hammered and playing bingo and then dancing. But the other example is, it's like there's a bar by me. It's called Bod. And what they've done is it's half cafe, half bar. So what they do is they get all the people during the day having tea and cake, and then in the evening they'll have a glass of wine and a beer instead.
Yeah.
And what they've done is basically they say, look, we've got customers here all day. And that's what cinemas need to do. They need to try to figure out ways of getting people in all day. Even if you had less people coming in, you didn't have those peaks. But if they were steadily coming in, and that's what they need to do. Either they need to go in with other, like there's a place called I think it's called Sun City. I think it's shut now, but it was a cinema, a crazy golf, a bowling alley, and but you went for the whole night. So you'd go watch the cinema, you'd go bowling next door, and you go, and they've got those sort of things in America as well, aren't they? Where
they're great.
That's what they need to do, is get people coming in for lots of different reasons and go, go watch the film. And, But I think, having the football and stuff like that.
I think it'd be great. Mr. KDW did bring up a point. During the week, movie theaters have always been the case. The movie theaters during the week have not really been as busy. Maybe back in the day, like back in the day when movies were really just coming out, then the week might have been just as busy. But realistically, movies come out on the weekends. Now, instead of a Friday through Sunday, it's a Thursday through Sunday because they come out on Thursdays. But Tuesdays are discount ticket days typically. So
we go. I won't get one free and things like that, deals on a weekday.
But that's the whole point of this all. If they're able to fill out those weekly slots, not just on the evenings, but throughout the day as well, we're doing well as a film community at that point. It might not even be the most film-oriented thing that we're focusing on for the theaters at that point, but if that brings better films back to our screens, and it just makes it where it's not like the only things profitable are IP, big blockbuster things. So that's all we get. And we actually get more things like The Creator or The Beekeeper, $34 million. And it's already made $80-90 million off that. If we keep getting things like that, which we've been getting more and more, this and
still go out. will still go out to the big blockbuster when they
Oh
make good
yeah,
ones.
and
They don't have
it'll
Marvel
force
fatigue.
them
It's not
to.
Marvel fatigue. It's shit movie fatigue.
Exactly. It'll force those big blockbusters. The best part about big blockbusters were they were usually every 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on who it was, and not this yearly in and out kind of thing.
They're not special
Where
anymore.
no, we need a night out. Each movie needs to be a night out. The two movies that we've said are not both Paramount, one Disney / Fox, but Avatar 2 and Top Gun 2. Those both did magnanimous numbers for the film industry and for studios and theaters themselves, and that's because they were worth going to go see. They were those. I'm going to go take an evening to go see Top Gun. Yeah, you think you were ever going to say that?
You'd go and have a drink of wine beforehand or after, or go get a bite to eat before and what have you, and you'd make an evening of it. And you might spend $100 or $150, but you've had an evening. And the cinema is just a part of the evening.
And I understand that thought process, but hey, I'm choosing the optimist thought process instead of the cynic. How much are you going to go spend at the bar watching a game instead? I'm going to go spend the same amount at the bar, maybe lose your wallet on the way out, you know? The cinema is just, I think it's just a better spot for it. It makes more sense. And it brings where the bar can be communal, especially have a bunch of people all dressed up in Manchester United jerseys, a bunch of Texans or Green Bay Packers jerseys, whatever it may be. That's communal, but it's not truly communal where if you're sitting next to a bunch of people because, in a bar you have 4 dozen screens to look at half the time. If you're all looking at one screen, you're all paying attention to the same thing. That's not a hive mind or anything, but we all go into a similar mindset during that time period, and it's camaraderie at that point, which is good.
Yeah, and there is a future for cinema, but I think there'll be less of them. They need to be higher quality. And I think, like I say, the Odeon have really gone the right way with doing these Lux things with these beautiful, comfy seats, and the deals that they do, and that's how they'll survive. But I honestly think they need to diversify in clever ways. And if they don't, I think a lot of cinemas will struggle.
Which we've seen. Thankfully, AMC and Cineworld, both Regal and Picture House across the Europe and the US, they're doing well. Actually making money these last 2 years for the first time in a few years, which is nice. But we need that continue. We need that to continue, and we need the mindset, I guess, of our audiences for films to go back into an optimist one, not the cynic, but it makes sense to be a cynic.
They're about to have a bad year. Let's be honest. They're about to have a bad year.
I don't think so. I think this year is going to be the perfect. I think it's going to epitomize where films should be going because it's going to be a lot of cheaper films. Not cheaper films per se, but films that weren't as expensive to make, and they make more money back, and they don't have to.
But there is going to be a gap. There is going to be a period of time where there just isn't much coming out,
which is kind of okay.
Yeah, but I mean, the movies, they still need people through bums through seats, and they still need movies. They need a product, and they're going to struggle. They won't be the big. Okay, yeah, we'll have a few less big blockbusters. That's fine. I'm with you. But the whole industry shut down. I don't know. We might get a few indie movies and things, but independent movies, but the entire industry shut down. I don't think there's going to be that many gems that we're going to discover, if we're honest.
There are so many on a year in, year out basis that people just don't pay attention to. I don't necessarily think there's going to be more gems than usual per se, but I think it's going to highlight the ones that usually don't get highlighted.
Yeah, this is a good example. The Beekeeper wouldn't have took that much money normally.
No, especially being dropped in January. Yeah. But, hey, I'm for it. I hope that brings us into a new age of indies to a degree, which is kind of a good transition into Mr. Christopher Nolan, who has said that he feels like he holds a responsibility as a filmmaker because he is given so much leeway from studios, these huge budgets that would not be given to anybody else typically, or very, very few people, that he does feel like he has a responsibility to keep making films to this scale. He said, as much as I do love small, because he was talking about After Sun and a couple of these other different, very small, intimate movies that have been coming out recently, and he loves them. He's like, I would love to make something like that, but I have a responsibility not to make something like that. I have to make a blockbuster out of something that could be an indie, so we can still continue to make these types of films in the future. And Peter, what, my boy, what?
What's his first film?
What? This one, I agree with this one. The next one, not so much. But Chris Nolan does say he feels a responsibility, and honestly, I think he kind of does have that responsibility. I mean, he's the most poignant person that would know that, and I think he's correct. I'd love to see that type of film.
Let's have a look at Chris Nolan's films for a second, just to see if Peter Moore's got a point. Oppenheimer is great, but it is boring. Brilliant, boring.
Slow.
Tenet made no freaking sense, and it was stupid. No, it was awful.
I loved it.
No.
Conceptually, but that's the one that might be the only one that stands to Peter's point.
It was a bad film. Dunkirk was epic, but it was boring. It's not the sort of film you'd watch more than once.
Okay, I still haven't seen it.
Oh my god, it was good on IMAX. It was amazing. Interstellar is the stupidest sci-fi movie ever made.
One of the best sci-fi movies.
Then we're getting into Batman. Fair enough.
Which Dark Knight is.
I think they're all great in their different ways. In different reasons, they're all brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Inception. Conceptually, great film. I enjoyed that. The Prestige, brilliant film.
That's my favorite Christopher Nolan film. I adore that.
Insomnia was shit. Memento was a good film, and Insomnia was a terrible film. It's an awful film. It's an awful book. You should never have turned it into a film. But that's pretty much his film list.
But I mean, no, but like you said, none of those are films that typically would be made to the budget that they're made with him. Which
the first Batman is the best example of that. The later Batmans and Inception was not a cheap film to make.
No. Those, yeah.
And the Dark Knight Rises was not a cheap film to make.
No.
But, Dunkirk cost a fortune.
But yeah, it'd be nice to have people that are trusted like that, where Chris Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, maybe Antoine Fuqua, a couple other people like that just and I adore Antoine Fuqua. I just don't know if he's in that same category either. I'm trying to just pick names that always make sure they're able to, like, not necessarily self-fund, but get just a few backers, you know? We need more independent cinema. Just to kind of bridge the gap a little bit between our next kind of half point / point is Ray was talking about, just underrepresented voices in Hollywood right now and all that. And that's a continuous topic, of course. But one of the things that she was saying, which, you know, I just watched her in American Fiction yesterday, so that's fresh on the mind, is you don't see underrepresented people typically getting the starring role in a lot of things. I guess The Creator was something that's different than that this year. I mean, even in Star Wars, they started off with John Boyega on one of the big three, and we know all his poster level by the end of The Rise of Skywalker. Like, it's BS, you know? So Issa Rae was talking about, well, I'm over it, so I'm just going to do indie films for the rest of my time. Or at least she's debating that. I don't think she's going to only end up doing indie films for the rest of her time, but if 80-90% of what she does is that, and she kind of takes that Glenn Close kind of approach to things, one for me, one for you, or two for me, one for you kind of deal, I think that's good.
British people in Hollywood movies. I think it's very, very racist towards British people. So, no more British villains.
I was about to say, every villain I've ever met was either Russian or British.
Yeah, we're good. We're just better acting than you people. So, but yeah, it's really cool, actually. I'm obviously joking, but we've got such a good film industry in this country. We particularly making big blockbusters and things. And you always know a film has been made in this country because we're watching all these actors that we were like, oh, he was in EastEnders or some other British TV show sort of thing. And we were like, oh, these actors are in these films. It's so weird. Oh, that must have been filmed here. And
my favorite part about British filmmaking in general is that y'all are way more willing to grab people from the stage.
Yeah,
you're like, you know what, we're going to put the stage actor in a film. And they're always amazing. They never, I don't know if I've ever thought of battery dead soon.
It's the best education.
Yes. So okay,
Can
well,
we talk about Henry Cavill just before because I think
yeah,
my battery's going to die.
we'll do that.
I don't know where the cable is. I could wander and try and find the damn thing, but I don't know where it is.
No worries. Real quick, Percy Jackson ended last night. If y'all haven't seen it, y'all should check it out. If you'd like a ticket or skip it, we may do one soon. Y'all just let me know. But tell Jay that he needs to watch it with all of his family because it's a great family show. Great family show.
I will watch it though. I will watch it. I promise. I love the actor. I loved him in that thing he did.
They don't take as much money too.
The British Army will do stuff for fish and chips.
That's a great list right there. Edgar Wright and Guy Ritchie and Matthew Vaughn aren't on the same level as Chris Nolan or Quentin Tarantino. Oh, you're saying Hollywood. Oh, okay. I agree with you there, honestly. But it's just, we need people like that making films like that. But then again, Guy Ritchie is making films for $30, $40, $50 million. He's not doing Chris Nolan
movies again. He's making great movies again. And you said that they're not on the same level as Chris Nolan. I said they're just different. I think they're all on the same level as Chris Nolan, but
monetarily. I think in the amount of money given to him to make the project, Guy Ritchie doesn't.
Maybe the money given to him, but I bet it's money made. I bet they're not far off each other.
Oh yeah,
I bet Guy Ritchie, other than one or two movies, has never, like you said, he's never made a film that cost more than about $50 or $60 million to make.
No, I think Aladdin would be
maybe expensive. King Arthur. Other than that,
Aladdin and King Arthur, those would probably be his two. But Guy Ritchie, just give me more Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie, anything and everything. I could just talk about Guy Ritchie all day. Just talk about Snatch. I love that movie. But to end it off, to talk about another Brit. This one not so villainous typically. He did play a really damn good villain in Mission Impossible 6. Yeah, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cock your arms back, I love that.
That was cool. That was.
Henry Cavill.
Ass.
I almost said Sir Henry Cavill. That man needs to be knighted. He needs to be knighted yesterday.
He doesn't do enough for charity to get knighted because he's too busy playing computer games. That's
a good point too. He's actually going to play Warhammer instead of actually doing something else or building his next computer. He always said he hates big budget movies. Yeah, but he's in them all the time, and he's only doing them for the future too. So, you said Guy Ritchie. Never mind. I thought you were saying Henry Cavill for a second. My bad.
Yeah.
But the thought process, the question, the thing that our bullet point that we're going over for this. What is the most franchisable project that Henry Cavill has coming up? So the 4 big ones that he has coming up, I know Highlander's the one that you want to be, for sure. That's a Lionsgate film, so it might be a little Paramount-y. We have Prime is putting out Warhammer. Then we have Argyle, which is part of the Kingsman series, I believe. Pretty positive, like 99% positive, which that is an Apple Plus and a Universal project. And then the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which we got yesterday, which is that looked great. And that's Lionsgate and Black Bear Entertainment.
Yeah.
So
the League of Ungentlemanly Warfare doesn't feel franchisey to me. The other 3 projects are all massively franchisable. Warhammer is vast. It's absolutely vast.
Like they have enough content and material from what they already have for Warhammer to do 60 years worth of projects on it.
Yeah,
which is insane, and that might be an understatement. Because I honestly don't know. But
it's vast. Highlander, they will not make the mistake they made in the first one. Do not expect for there to be only one by the end of that film. There will still be many of them by the end of that film because they're not stupid enough to make the same mistake that they did with Highlander. There could be only one. It's really popular. We need to undo that. How do we undo it? So they won't do that again. And the Argyle is already. I'm really looking forward to Argyle. It's coming next week.
I'm thinking tomorrow night or early screening tomorrow night.
I will be going to the cinema this weekend. I've got my grandson actually, so I have to figure out how we're doing that. But I will be going to the cinema to watch that because I just think it looks. I might even see if the wife wants to go tomorrow night.
Honestly, that'd be a fun one just to bring people to in general.
I love who's the guy in it that he played Hammer in.
Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, I love Rockwell. He did a film that is very much like this a little while ago, and it was Sacha Baron Cohen's wife.
Isla Fisher.
Isla
Right?
Fisher. He's in a film with Isla Fisher where he plays a spy, and it's a very similar sort of character. I'll send you the thing. I literally watched it about a week ago, and all the way through, he's an assassin, and he had a brain injury. So he decides to only kill people that deserve it. And every time he's about to murder him, he puts like a clown nose on his face, and he puts a clown nose on, and he shoots him. It's glorious. Isla Fisher is brilliant in it. He's brilliant in it. Honestly, go check that out. I'll try and Google it.
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, Sam Rockwell is one of those people that no matter how goofy of a role you give him, he finds a way to ground it. And that, I mean, you could say that about dozens of people, but I don't know if there's another actor that can make something that goofy, that grounded like Sam Rockwell can. Yeah. I legitimately cannot think of a soul. Maybe Anthony Hopkins, but that's just because that dude's crazy, but in the best way possible. I love me some Anthony Hopkins. But Sam Rockwell, like, I don't know if Anthony Hopkins even grounds it as well as Sam Rockwell, because even with Anthony Hopkins, you feel like, okay, this dude's such a great actor. It feels like an elevated actor, where Sam Rockwell is an amazing actor and like probably near that level of acting. But
it's not Isla Fisher. It's not Isla Fisher.
Who is it?
Not Isla Fisher. It's the woman that I always bloody mix up with Isla Fisher. Wait a second.
Not Bryce Dallas Howard. Jessica Chastain?
Might be. Give me a minute.
Thinking the redheads.
Not him.
What movie? No. That's what we're trying to figure out. Or is it Sam Rockwell and
Mr. Right? It was called Mr. Right. Anna Kendrick. Okay. I always mix up Anna Kendrick and Isla Fisher. I don't know why. It's supposed to because they're just both little and have got similar hair. But yeah, it's called Mr. Right. It was 2015, and it's absolutely bloody brilliant. It's great film.
Okay. I love Anna Kendrick too. She's great.
Yeah, cheap, like not an expensive movie, not big, not clever, just really, really good.
That's all you need. That's all you need. Brian Cox was a better Hannibal Lecter. Ooh, I don't know about that. Brian Cox was good, but
Manhunter is a properly scary film.
Yeah. What about? I still haven't watched Hannibal with Mads Mikkelsen. Everyone says he's a really good Hannibal Lecter too.
Yeah, he's good in that series. Yeah. Eddie Izzard's really, really good in that series. They didn't use him enough in that series.
Eddie Izzard needs to be everywhere. I'm still sad about Our Flag Means Death being canceled because he made that freaking show.
He did a show called the Reeds or something. What's it called? He played a con man. A bunch of British actresses and things in it. It was a great show. Oh bollocks! I have to look that up now as well. It only got 2 seasons and it got cancelled. But they were con men and they moved into like this very popular house, but they were like bums basically. Let me have a look. I'll find it.
Mm-hmm. So I mean,
no, it was The Riches. It was The Riches. It was called.
Okay.
Great show. Minnie Driver was in it, and that guy Nola Fisher was in it. He's gone on to be a brilliant actor, proper psycho player, yeah. And then Todd Stashwick was in it, and a few others. But great show.
All right. So just to round it out before you die on us, because I was about to say it can't be very long. I think I'm with you on the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare being the least franchisable of the 4. And I don't necessarily think they even have franchise aspirations with it. But, did we lose him? We might have lost old Jay. But just to finish this thought real quick, I think the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, that's a whole handful of a sentence there, might make more money than the rest of these, maybe even more than Highlander. I don't think so, but that's just what we're thinking as of now, or that's just my thought process as of now is a better way of saying that. I think Argyle, it's just not. It hasn't been marketed. That's the word I'm looking for. Marketed all that well. I don't know if it's going to make the money that it should. Oh, wait, I can.
I remember I used my phone.
Hey, that worked. Okay. I love how he said like it's gonna die in 4 minutes, and it's just like, nope.
No, my computer went, I'm going to protect the battery. I'm going now. So,
But we'll just finish up here because this is our last
Yeah.
topic anyway. So we'll just hang out for the next couple of minutes, talk about it. If y'all have anything else to talk about, let us know in the comments, of course. But what I was just saying is, as much as I'm excited for Argyle, it doesn't seem like they've marketed all that well. It's got some fun marketing, but I don't know if it was marketed to the masses in a very well way, and I don't know if it's going to make the type of money we would like it to. As much as I would love Highlander to make a bunch of money, and I hope it does when it does come out, it's a genre film, and it might be a little bit of a hard sell. I don't know if it's going to be. I don't know if it's a hard sell, if that's the right term for it, but I don't know if it. Let's just say I'm intrigued to see what the projections will be whenever they finish filming it.
In the modern cinema, you do feel like if they'd have done this 10 years ago, it would have made $1 billion. It would have been absolutely massive. And if they get the music right, it would have made $1 billion. The way cinema is at the moment, it could make £2.50, and you know, and that's like a good weekend. It's the sort of film that it does feel risky.
It does. So that being said, and with Warhammer just being a TV aspect of things, which, just TV is kind of a bad way of saying it, but it's also not necessarily as monetizable as a film can be, or you might not get as quick money or as much money in as quick a time period as you do with the other three things. Do you think that Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, that is just a handful of a freaking sins, do you think it might be the surprise most franchisable out of the four? Because all three of those seem like they would be more franchisable.
It's different between saying what's franchisable and what will be a hit. I think that might be more of a hit.
But does a hit turn into franchisable after nowadays?
I'm not sure, but I think Warhammer is the most franchisable, mainly because there'll be comics, there'll be a game series connected to it, there'll probably be a computer game connected to it. There'll be series. They could spin off and do movies. A franchise is a big thing, isn't it? But if you're talking hit, yeah, I think it could be the one that's the biggest hit.
Aye.
Highlander, again, if they do a half decent job and that film makes money, there will be a sequel. The plan will be a sequel. Will be probably 3. That'll be the plan going into it. The plan will be to make that into a franchise. As far as I know, there's no plan to make the Ungentlemanly Warfare more than one movie, as far as I know.
I don't think there is one. I'm just thinking, things are hits nowadays, and if a hit makes some money, they're like, all right, let's do 2. Let's do 3.
If it's a hit, I think they will then try to think, okay, how do we make this a franchise? Warhammer it's the easiest thing in the world to franchise. And if it's even remotely popular, it'll do well, and it will become a franchise. I think that's the one that's the easiest. Highlander requires so many things to be right, and if I'm 100% honest, I think they've already got it wrong. Because if I think Highlander, obviously you think Christopher Lambert. The whole point of Highlander was that the Kurgan was this big monster, and Christopher Lambert isn't. And the battle between this powerhouse and then Christopher Lambert, who was, almost like elegant, the difference between the swords. Listen to this back, Jay. It's hilarious. What?
Oh, okay. Are you not doing that on purpose?
What am I doing? Oh, is there something wrong with the sound?
I thought you were just fucking with us. I totally thought you were just fucking with us.
Oh, is it a bad signal or something? What's wrong with it? Oh, hello. Oh, man. And I feel like you're taking a piss out of me, and I don't know why. I'm going to read the comments.
I shouldn't be laughing this hard. I was trying to figure out if you're doing it on purpose or accidentally for the longest time. Oh,
I'm not doing anything on purpose. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's giving you a lisp for some reason.
Oh,
So
somebody
every
said a
time you
lisp.
say anything, if there's an F,
I got a
you
lisp.
sound like you have a lisp, like a bad lisp.
I have not got a lisp. It's not. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that on purpose. It's obviously clearly my speaker. So stop being mean to me. And Harris, you've got a stupid beard. Just leave me alone. I got a Satan beard. Lisp. Okay, let me finish this point. And because you're all so mean to me, I'm going. So, they've got to get Christopher Lambert type of character, right? So now I'm talking like my tongue's too big for my head. They've got to have a Christopher Lambert character, right? Sorry, what I'm trying to say is now, whoever they get for the Kurgan, it's got to be somebody even bigger than Henry Cavill to have that dynamic. The swords, the Kurgan had a massive broadsword, and Christopher Lambert's character, Colin McLeod, he had a broadsword at first, but then he switched to the more delicate katana. It wasn't a katana, but anyway. Yeah, Peter Moore, it wasn't your fault. I'm more bothered about this stupid American laughing blatantly in my face.
It's so
I'm not
good.
being mocked by an American. No, it's not.
You have to go back after this and just watch.
I will have a look at it when I'm done. I can't believe I got the lisp. Yeah, and the other thing is they've got to get the things that made Highlander popular was the music and Sean Connery. And if they don't get the right character for Ramirez, they're also going to struggle. Highlander is a massive risk. If they get it right, it'll be freaking amazing. And if they don't, it'll be awful. And there's no middle ground. You're not just going to come out of the cinema going, that was all right. You're either going to come out of it going, that was a righteous, decent movie for the genre, brilliant, it's reborn. Or you're going to come out going, well, I've just wasted 22 hours of my life and 20 quid. That was just awful. And also the other problem is with this modern world, there's going to be a lot of people on YouTube slagging this film off way before it ever comes out.
It's true. They are going to use this Queen soundtrack. They did announce that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm with you. I like your Michelle Yeoh casting, but I think Antonio Banderas will be perfect.
No, Michelle Yeoh, you moron! It's got to be Michelle Yeoh.
I don't think she could do the flamboyance like that. Even when she does flamboyant, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's like a subtle flamboyant, and she's playing off of somebody else's.
Watch her in Star Trek as Empress Giorgio.
Okay.
And then don't tell me she can't do flamboyant.
Okay, interesting.
She is phenomenal. Honestly, get on YouTube and watch a few of the best bits of Empress Giorgio. Freaking amazing.
Okay.
And sexy as hell as well. She's really sexy.
Well, I would never doubt her acting ability. I just don't necessarily think that'd be like Antonio Banderas that just fits squarely in like his wheelhouse already. It'd be nice to see Michelle Yeoh do something zany and fun, but.
Yeah, but the other thing is, I think they're going to have to try and put a woman into this somewhere, because it's only fair. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but half of the population of the planet are women.
Oh, really?
So yeah, that makes sense. The Kurgan can't be a woman. It can't be. That would make sense. But
Kurgan is Ronda Rousey.
Exactly. But the Ramirez character could be, and it could work. And my argument was the whole emotional impact of the Ramirez character dying would have more impact if it was a woman. Because it's losing a mother figure rather than a father figure. It would have more impact. Now I get roundly mocked for my opinion, but it's true. It would work. It could work. I don't mind gender swapping when it's done for a reason, and I think that would have a genuine story reason why it would work.
When done properly, I think so. I mean, I haven't watched Battlestar Galactica, but everything everybody's ever said is like, Katie Sackhoff, good job, and stuff like that. There are places where it does fit better because it's a different time period, making a film in a different.
It can't be done for the sake of it, and in this case, I suppose there's an element of doing it for the sake of it because you're going to go, we can't have 3 main male actors in a movie nowadays. It's a different world we live in. You need to at least, I'm trying now not to do a lisp, just to wind.
You said the sake of it, and I almost couldn't hold it in for a second. I almost lost it.
And now I'm thinking about it. I think I am actually lisping slightly. Anyway, so I just think they've got to put a female character in it, so make it that character. And Michelle Yeoh would be perfect. It would also make sense why she had a Japanese sword.
It would make a hell of a lot more sense, because that was kind of like random as the second Sean Connery comes with this big old Scottish accent. Here he is. Yeah, I'm Egyptian, and I'm from Spain.
Yeah, who dated a Japanese chick. So yeah, it's All right then, I'm going to go now. You horrible lot. I'm going to block all of you from the channel. None of you are now allowed to watch SciTrek anymore. Oh, SciTrek. That must sound ridiculous. I'll see you all on. Let's see. I'll see you all on Sunday on SciTrek. How's that sound? Good? Sound good?
Great. I need everybody to clip all of that. Oh God.
God.
Thanks,
guys. Screw you guys. I'm going home.
Before I hop out of here, Shit Farmer, aka Big Rob. I remember. I have yet to watch, I think, any really Pauly Shore movies. I'm sorry to say, but I've seen plenty of his stand-up since then, off of like Kill Tony and stuff. But I did watch. Oh, what was it called? It's the short film that Pauly Shore did, because they have a film that they are making as Pauly Shore as Richard Simmons, and it actually looks decent. I'm shocked, because Pauly Shore is not someone I think of that's like, oh, great actor, you know. As Richard Simmons, he did damn well in that short, and I'm very excited to see what he'll be able to do in a film. I can't think of what it's called. It's like a little optimistic kind of Richard Simmons-y kind of title. I just can't think of what it's called. But it's really great short, and y'all should totally check it out. Pauly Shore, Richard Simmons. Just Google that, you find it.
I know what you did last summer. I'm just trying to think of any title that's got S's in, so it just sounds stupid. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, the movie.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious,
the movie.
We will have to send this stream to Stormy. Say you'll like the first hour and 15 minutes of it, but those last 15 minutes.
He very much liked my save Stormy's boner comments, right? But then he saved it. He shared it on his own Facebook thing, and I'm like, anybody that hasn't seen our lives has no clue what that comment is about.
Not even remotely.
So like it's
they're probably
out of context. It's
Stormy.
Just random. I'm like, shave Stormy's boner.
Save Stormy's boners.
Because Timmy's boner.
But Stormy is on the mends. He's still not 100% just yet. Hopefully we'll see him this Sunday. That'd be nice, but no promises there. Hopefully within the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Even if we get him in for 10 minutes or so, just to tell everyone how he is, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have a word and see if he's feeling up to it.
We'll see if we can get him immediately, about 25 minutes to the minute after he's taken his morning medicine that they did.
I don't know if Stormy on medication is a good idea. I think Stormy off medication is very regularly not a good idea. But let's see.
It's entertaining.
Oh God, yeah.
Right,
but I gotta go and cook food for my children.
1 hour, 29 minutes into this. We will send this stream to Stormy. The court jester is what you were saying. I thought you were calling one of us the court jester. We both could count. But Richard Simmons biopic that is being made into a film, at least the short film, is titled The Court Jester. Totally check it out. It is great. It is fun. No imputation, I pray. 5 minutes equals 30 minutes. The last it's great. Can you do Sunday live through your phone, please?
No. No, I will not do it, and you need to stop being mean to me. Not very
It's too damn good.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to go on YouTube if I wasn't going to be mocked, was I? So,
Farmer, after we end the live and the live comments stop, would you mind commenting that like as an actual comment first, because it helps the channel, but second because I'll see it again later and it'll remind me.
I will 100% forget that immediately.
100% entirely.
I will 100% forget that immediately. Right, I'm off to. I'm already off. I'm so hungry. I'm off already.
All right, y'all. It's 8:30. I almost called you a whole different name. Jay's got to go eat.
Better not be 8:30.
The lists were throwing me off.
I just knocked my light thing over. Bloody hell! That nearly got me.
All right. Well, thank you all for hanging out. We appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and we will see you soon. Adios.
Bye. Bye, guys.